Today we're going to continue our series taking a look at some of the NHL's top prospects. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Alright, so as I mentioned off the top, today we're going to continue taking a look at the top NHL prospects that should be making their NHL debuts here soon enough. Some of these guys have already had a quick, small taste of the NHL with a couple games last season and should be making full-time moves to the NHL either this season or next. So this batch of top prospects is considered 11 through 20 on my list, and as I mentioned before, if you missed the first batch, 1 through 10, you can stay tuned to the end of the video. There will be a link on the end screen. You can go back and watch that one once this one's finished. So let's jump in here. The number 20th top prospect right now I have is Jake Bean, the Carolina Hurricanes prospect. Who's a great defenseman playing in the Canadian Hockey League. Jake Bean right now has 49 points in 40 games this season. He's represented Team Canada at World Junior Championships. Jake is a really solid defenseman, plays with a lot of poise. He's a great skater, has a great first pass out of the zone. Certainly very reliable at both ends of the ice. I think he has the ability to be a top dynamic offensive defenseman. Certainly top 4 material for sure in the NHL, but he is pretty strong defensively, so he's not one of those offensive defensemen that's really weak on the defensive side of the game. So he is pretty strong on both ends of the ice, both sides of the puck for sure. Carolina already has some pretty good young defensemen already playing at the NHL level. So Jake Bean more than likely will have a little bit of seasoning in the American Hockey League once his junior career finishes up this year before he makes the jump to the NHL. But certainly Carolina has a lot to look forward to with Jake Bean, and they already have a lot of other young defensemen. Wouldn't be completely surprised if either Jake Bean or one of these other guys that are already at the NHL level might be used as a trade chip to help upgrade other parts of their team for sure as they try to move forward to the next step in their team progression. So Jake Bean is number 20. Number 19, we have a Tampa Bay Lightning prospect, Matthew Joseph. Matthew Joseph played his junior hockey for the St. John Sea Dogs, which is close here to where I live. I got to see him play a number of times. He's a very strong offensive player. Fantastic skater, put up some 80-point seasons in junior, and he's really tearing it up in the American Hockey League. This is his first year pro right now. He finished his junior career last year. He's playing in Tampa Bay's AHL affiliate right now. Joseph currently has 38 points in 55 games in his first season in the American Hockey League, doing quite well. I know we hear a lot about Tampa Bay's top prospects and that they have all kinds of them, and they really do. I find Matthew Joseph to me is one that often gets overlooked. Some of these other guys sometimes get a little bit more attention, but to me, he certainly has everything it takes to be an NHL player. With today's game being so fast and skilled, he is exactly that. He did represent Canada at the World Juniors as well the year before his junior career came to an end in 2017. So Matthew Joseph to me has all the speed and skill necessary to potentially be a top 6 or top 9 forward in the NHL. With Tampa Bay being as deep as they are, wouldn't be completely shocked to see him get moved. But the way he's playing in the American Hockey League, he's not going to be able to go too much longer, I don't think, without getting a crack at the NHL. So keep your eyes tuned for Matthew Joseph, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Next up, we have an Ottawa Senators prospect, Logan Brown. Logan Brown is a really big boy, 6'6", and he's very tall and lanky, very offensively skilled, but pretty good on the other side of the puck as well. Obviously, Logan Brown is a second-generation player. His dad, Jeff Brown, was a long-time NHL defenseman. So obviously, Logan has had some injury issues in the last year or two. He's played for Team USA for the last 2 World Junior Championships. He did get a taste of the NHL briefly with the Ottawa Senators at the beginning of this year. Got himself into 4 games. Did get his first NHL point. But he's certainly, based on everything that Ottawa's going through, I fully suspect that the odds of him making a team next season are very high. He's just a big guy with a lot of skill, good on face-offs, pretty good two-way player. I think he can translate his game to the NHL, and I think he has the potential to be a number 2, number 3 center. He was projected to maybe be number 1 center, and maybe he can be that. But I think more likely a number 2, 3 is probably where he's best fit. So hopefully for the Senators, the ideal situation would be for him to be a number 2 as early as possibly even this season, based on how their roster is shaping up and how things have gone this year. Next up, we have the Vegas Golden Knights, Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki is a very strong skater, great hockey sense, and he's absolutely tearing it up in junior this year. He has 89 points in 58 games. He works very hard. He's very skilled. He's not an overly big guy. He's pretty average, kind of on the smaller side. I believe he's about 5'11", just a little bit shy of 200 pounds. So like he's a good sized kid, but he's not huge. He's not small either. But he works hard. He's got lots of skill and is really tearing it up in junior. So Vegas has another top prospect rolling away. One of their top first-round picks. They had a couple of them in last year's draft, and he's certainly progressing quite well to eventually make it to the NHL real soon. Next up, we have Edmonton Oilers draft choice, Kailer Yamamoto. Now, Kailer certainly had a taste of the NHL this season. It was kind of looking early on with the Oilers that he might stick it out and actually stay. They gave him as many games as they could, the 9-game sample size. Then he ended up going back to junior. But since he's gone back to junior, this kid is absolutely tearing it up. Now, he might be small, but he is fast and incredibly skilled. He right now has 58 points in 35 games, playing for the Spokane Chiefs in the Western Hockey League. I fully suspect he's going to be a good winger for Connor McDavid. He can keep up with him with the skating. He certainly has the hockey sense and the IQ to go along with it. Personally, long term, I think that he would be a good fit on Connor's wing in Edmonton, where he got a pretty good sample size of games this year. I fully suspect that he won't go to the American League. He'll probably go straight to the NHL, and as early as next year would be my pick for Yamamoto. He's really quick, really skilled. He's played for Team USA at the World Junior Championships as well. So Oilers fans have a lot to be excited about with Yamamoto. He might be small, but he's fast and incredibly skilled, and he gets the job done, and he'll probably be a good wingman for Connor McDavid. Next up, we have a Toronto Maple Leaf prospect, Timothy Liljegren, playing in their AHL Toronto Marlies system. He's a very gifted offensive defenseman, pretty solid defensively as well. Came over from Sweden. He's playing his first year pro here in North America, playing in the American Hockey League. He's not getting a ton of points with the Marlies right now. I believe he had like 12 points in 50 games or something like that. But he's a very skilled defenseman. He's certainly going to play for the Leafs sooner rather than later. He did have some other guys like Borgman and Dermott kind of get ahead of him on the depth chart a little bit. They've had their taste of the NHL, but certainly with everything going on in Toronto, I know there's been a lot of talk about them maybe picking up some more experience on the defense, and maybe they will do that, but they certainly have lots of defensive prospects. As I just mentioned, not only Liljegren, but Borgman as well as Dermott. They have not looked at a place in the NHL. Dermott's probably the one that's ahead of them the most, but Timothy Liljegren certainly more than likely is going to play in the NHL sooner rather than later. And like I said, he hasn't been putting up big numbers in the American Hockey League, but he is a very offensively skilled defenseman, good skater, good passer, and pretty decent on the defensive side of the puck as well. So look out for him. He'll be in a Leaf uniform soon enough. Next up, we have a New Jersey Devils forward, Michael McLeod, who's going to be an excellent top two-way center. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Patrice Bergeron. Hopefully, for his sake, he turns out to be as good as Bergeron, but he's the type of NHL player that he reminds me of. Not to say that he's necessarily at that level as of right now. Obviously, Bergeron is an elite player, but McLeod has that potential to be a very similar style player as him. He's very good on faceoffs. He's a big, strong kid as well, so he's offensively gifted. He kind of does a little bit of everything. I fully suspect that he'll have an excellent shot at making the Devils roster next year. If not, they may give him a year seasoning in the American Hockey League, but certainly Michael McLeod being a great two-way center. I'm not sure what he projects to be. I think he has the potential to be a number 2 center. He may very well end up being a number 3, but either way, I'll be quite surprised if he doesn't have himself a fairly lengthy NHL career. He just has too much size, skill, and hockey sense to not to make it. So Michael McLeod is going to be a top center for the Devils here in the near future. Next up, we've got Sam Steele, an Anaheim Ducks draft choice, playing in the Western Hockey League. Recently represented Canada at the World Junior Championships this past year. He was heavily rumored to make the Canadian Olympic team as well. They opted not to take any junior players along, but he was a top choice had they gone down that route. But Sam Steele is certainly tearing it up in junior, playing in the Western Hockey League. He has 76 points in 49 games. He's a very fast skater and a very skilled playmaker. He can put the puck on the net too, but I think once he reaches the NHL, he's going to be more of a playmaking center. If you get a player with him on the wing who can shoot the puck, he'll certainly be setting him up for lots of goals for sure. In Team Canada, the World Juniors, for example, he played on their top line and was instrumental in setting up a lot of their goal scorers. So Sam Steele, another player who's at the junior level who's been mentioned in trade rumors. But I don't think the Ducks are going to move this guy. I think they're very thrilled with his progress. And considering some of their guys like Getzlaf and Kessler are getting a little bit older, I think Sam Steele is the future of that team. And if I were the Ducks, I would not trade this kid. I'd hang on to him. He has very high potential to make a top 1 or 2 center in the NHL. Next up, we have Gabe Vilardi, an LA Kings draft pick. Gabe Vilardi is a very big two-way center, very offensively gifted, playing in the OHL. Currently only has 26 games played this year, but he has 48 points. Vilardi is another player who's also been mentioned occasionally in trade rumors as the LA Kings look to make some upgrades at the NHL trade deadline, but they were quite reluctant to give up this guy, and I don't blame them. He certainly has a lot of potential. Being, he's got the size, he's got the skill, he's got the skating. He really has a high potential to be a top 1 or 2 center in the NHL. These guys are not easy to find, and when you find them, you want to hang on to them. So Gabe Vilardi's having an excellent junior season, and he should be making his way towards the NHL as early as next year. May need a year of seasoning in the American Hockey League first, depending on where things are at with the Kings roster, and depending on what they decide to do in the offseason. But he'll definitely, I think, at least get a taste of the NHL as early as next year. Now, the top of this list for me is Kiefer Bellows, a New York Islanders draft choice. He is going to be a pure sniper. Bellows, for me, is the best pure goal scorer on this list for this batch of prospects that we're looking at today. He's represented the Team USA in the last 2 World Junior Championships, and he can really shoot the puck. He's a pure sniper. Another one of these guys who's a second-generation player. His dad, you probably recall, was Brian Bellows. Played in the NHL quite a long time. Played with Minnesota as well as Montreal, and I think he may have played with another team as well, but those were the teams he played with most predominantly. But Kiefer Bellows is another gem that the Islanders have. I mean, look at what they've progressed with this year with Barzal and Beauvillier, obviously. And now they got a guy like this on the way. Like, he is pure gold when it comes to shooting the puck. Like, he has a hard shot, an accurate shot, and he's a pure sniper. So the Islanders, for me, I had to put him at the top of this list. He just barely missed the other top 10 list that I made, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video here. So this was 11 through 20, so I have him ranked number 11 on this list. And he's just an absolute dynamic player who's going to be a pure goal scorer in the NHL when he arrives. Hopefully he'll arrive sooner or later for the Islanders. Not that they have any trouble scoring goals, but they certainly have a nice bright future with another top prospect here in Kiefer Bellows. So that completes the top 20. We just went through prospects 20 all the way up through 11. If you missed the first video where we covered 10 up through 1, certainly check out the end screen here coming up momentarily, and you can go back and watch that video as well. There's all kinds of great talent on their way to the NHL as we've gone through here, and there's more to come as we have an excellent draft class coming up here in 2018 at the entry draft this summer in Dallas, Texas. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We have daily uploads here, oftentimes more than one. We analyze all 31 teams, cover all the latest trade rumors, as well as all the top prospects. So certainly consider subscribing if you're new. If you haven't checked us out on social media, certainly please do so as well. You're going to see our Twitter You're going to see our Twitter handle on the screen right here. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and all those accounts are linked down below in the description. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.